Hello and welcome to another episode of Movie Bollocks. Yes, it's one of those one-off podcasts about movies. And this one is basically another viewer's guide, as you'll already know, because, you've seen the description. I don't know why I'm saying this, but there you go. That's what I'm doing. And, I mean, if you listen to Movie Bollocks, do you know what? You know all about the podcast. You know about all my bits and pieces, so if you actually give a shit as to what I think about movies and TV, then bloody hell, fair play to you. That means you probably like me more than quite a few members of my family. So there you go. And this is me skimming over the tops of movies, just giving you kind of not in-depth reviews, because I'm going to cover 36 movies in this episode and 5 TV series. So that's quite a lot, even if I say so myself. I really can't do in-depth reviews. Otherwise, well, basically we'd be here all fucking week, wouldn't we? And you really wouldn't want to hear that anyway. So I'm just gonna rattle through these. Feel free to hit me up over any of the social media if you have any queries regarding any of this. That's absolutely fine, or if you can't find something. Well, actually, if you can't find something, if you can't find any of these movies, for fuck's sake, don't contact me when you've got the internet as a resource. Search it. Always amazes me that people still do that. Do you know what I mean? That's like, somebody I notice it all the time. Oh, blah, and I just think, have you got do you know how to use a fucking search engine? But there you go. Hey, that's just me. That's just me. I'm a twat. What can I say? Anyway, that's enough piffle, tiffle and waffling for now. Let's get stuck in to these here movies. So we're going to start with one that I forgot. If you remember, if you heard the last viewers guide episode I did say there's probably a few I've forgotten, and this is one of them. And it was a movie that I watched on Christmas Day. Put it aside to watch on Christmas Day. The George Clooney directed, starring George Clooney, The Midnight Sky, on Netflix. And I would imagine if you've got Netflix, some of you, if you were going to watch this, you'd have watched it by now. For me, it was just meh. The soundtrack does all the heavy lifting, which is a bit clumsy at times as well. It's it's literally, you feel like the soundtrack sometimes is going like, "Oi, feel like this! Oi, feel like this!" And ultimately, there's something in it that's supposed to be a surprise, but it's like, really, I'd actually figured that out. It was starting to become a bit obvious, and just not a lot really happened. And do you know what? It's always the same thing. 9 times out of 10, if you're watching something and you're thinking, I'm not engaged, or there's a lot going on, but why don't I feel more? It's character. If you are not bothered about the characters, you don't care what happens to them. Simple as that. So, and I'll come on to that much later on, where I'll be going toe-to-toe with Mark Commode on his completely wrong-headed, dumb opinion about a movie called I Care a Lot, but I will get to that, because I'm kind of doing these in chronological order. The chronological order being the order I watched them in. So in other words, no order whatsoever to anyone other than me. So yeah, The Midnight Sky, just a big fat fucking meh, really. Now, also, The Social Dilemma. That's also on Netflix. It's a 90-minute documentary which will basically make you shit your pants about social media and how it works and all the various algorithms that are behind you. I mean, as one of the guys in it says, if you've ever sort of thought, God, I must put my phone down. I must, I feel like I'm almost addicted to it. Yeah, that's the idea. There is people in this documentary who've worked for Twitter, Facebook, Google, which is also YouTube, obviously. There's people who developed algorithms who now spend their entire lives, they've dedicated their lives, having left the organisation they worked for, working against the algorithm they created. It's fascinating. It really, really is. It's also quite depressing. So, don't expect to be coming away feeling happy, but you will feel more informed / scared / full of despair. Next up, a movie called Run, starring one of my favourite actresses. I nearly said actress. Oh, dear me, have my fucking cock and balls cut off and shoved into my mouth for that one. My favourite female actor at the moment, Sarah Paulson, who will come in, who I'll be mentioning later in Ratcheted. In this, she is in a movie called Run. It is a 90-minute nail-biting. 90 minutes of nail biting. There you go. In fact, I haven't got any nails left. Really good. Really good. Mother, daughter. Mother is daughter's carer. Shit starts going sideways. Everything's not what it appears. All the usual bits and pieces that you'd read. And to be honest, it's not a particularly inspiring premise. But then, like all premises, if you not all premises, but with any half-decent premise, if it's done well, it is going to work. And this really, really does work. I really enjoyed it. For what it is, it's fairly low budget, but there's just some great performances. Sarah Paulson just lifts the whole thing for me, lifts it a level, and really enjoyable. Really, really enjoyed it. On the heels of that, couldn't be more different, really. 12 Strong. Now, this has got strong cast. Chris Hemsworth, Michael Shannon, Michael Pena. It is it's basically a true story of a special forces team that were sent to Afghanistan, and it's really weird because there is actual real news footage of back in the day. In the film, it is set just after September the 11th. It is not too rah chest beaty. We're gonna, we're American and we're gonna fucking get our own back, etc. It really isn't. Really well done, and it's been kicking around on my Netflix list for ages. And I watched it. Finally got around to watching it, and really enjoyed it. And realised that the stupid reason that I hadn't really got around to watching it was basically because the main picture is the characters on horseback, and I fucking hate horses. So there you go. Anyway, that's very sad, Howard. Yeah, including you, Mr. Ed. Anyway, a little bit of an impression. I'm branching out these days. Next up is Mogul Mowgli. This could not be more different to 12 Strong. This is written. I think it's written by. There's certainly big chunks of. Well, yeah, it is semi-autobiographical, and it's called Mogul Mowgli. Now, it's by one of my favourite male actors at the moment, Riz Ahmed, who also stars in Sound of Metal, which I am going to get round to watching. Haven't got round to it yet. But funnily enough, in Sound of Metal, he plays a heavy metal drummer. In this, he plays a British-born Asian guy trying to make it in the world of rap, and something happens that's maybe going to put a stop to his career, or at least his upcoming tour. Obviously, he's a musician. You'd think I'd have watched Sound of Metal by now, wouldn't you? But hey, fuck it. Really good. Really enjoyed it. It is not, it's not a thriller. It's not it's not an action. But it's purely what it sounds like. But it's just well done, and it's really realistic. It's got that real sort of kitchen sink feel to it. And I really enjoyed it. I realise I'm not doing a great job of describing it because I don't want to describe it any more than I have. Because it would be, to do any more would really to just be give the game away. But I enjoyed it. I really did, but that's all I'll ever say about anything I'm watching, because I do get people going, "Oh yeah, I watched so and so on your recommendation, and it was fucking shit." Look, I'm merely saying what I enjoyed and what I think to these, okay? Now, if you then want to interpret that as me recommending it and then turning round to your partner and saying that I've recommended it, and then your partner turning round and saying, well, what the fuck does he know? Yeah, well, I never recommended it in the first place, okay? I'm just saying, Mogul Mowgli, enjoyed it. Next up, A Promising Young Woman. Oh, this is going to get Oscar nominations. Oh, this is going to get Oscar noms, love, without a doubt. Oscar noms. Carey Mulligan is superb in the lead role. Bo Burnham is doing a real interesting work as his character. I don't want to say too much. This is a movie very much of the now. It simmers beneath the surface with threat. It really does. And I realise that all sounds a little bit pretentious, but it does. It's just a simmering, seething movie that you're not quite sure where it's going, and then you think you know where it's going, and then maybe you don't. And yeah, lots of twists and turns. It's about a girl who has had or has been through, or at least had a very close friend go through being attacked, and it's kind of a revenge flick, but to call it a revenge flick would be to do it a disservice. So that's all I'm going to say, because again, I don't want to give you too much away, but I really enjoyed that, and like I said, I do think there'll be Oscar nominations there. I really do. In fact, if Carey Mulligan doesn't get one, I'm going to Hollywood and I'm going to be kicking some ass. Next up, Savage, a New Zealand movie. One of two in the upcoming list of movies. It's Savage. It's about New Zealanders. All right, mate, say mint. Munt. No, say mint. Munt. Say mint. Munt. Just try that with people from certain parts of New Zealand. It's always a bit of a laugh. Anyway, Savage is about an incredibly hard bastard enforcer in a gang in New Zealand. And it's about his... I'm going to use the J word. It's about the main character's journey. And you find out all about his life, about how he ended up in that life, about the life he's living now, about his past, his family, his desires and aspirations for the future. Does he even have a future? It's brutal in places. It's a gang movie, but it's not really. It's about how one guy ends up in that lifestyle and which way is it going to go. But because it is it's set in New Zealand, it's full of New Zealand actors. It's a New Zealand movie. It has a really nice, different kind of feel to it. Not cliched or clunky at all. Really, really good. Completely cliche free. And I really, really did enjoy it. And it reminds me a little bit of the Aussie movie where Russell Crowe played a skinhead Nazi early in his career, and Romper Stomper. There you go. Was it Russell Crowe? Can't remember. But yeah, it reminds me a little bit of that, but a kind of updated version, but set in New Zealand. But yeah, if that's your kind of thing, definitely worth a watch. Again, if that's your kind of thing, notice I didn't... Yeah, anyway, well, I'm not going to keep doing that. Yeah, shut up, parakeet. I'm reviewing movies. Bloody idiot. Anyway, I hope you heard that. Otherwise, that's me just talking to myself. Next up, Synchronic Star. Now, in this, Anthony Mackie and Jamie Dornan. Now, Jamie Dornan I love because he was in The Fall, which is just one of the best / creepiest TV programs I've seen in a long time. So why don't I recommend that while I'm here? The Fall. It's absolutely superb. Jamie Dornan in that is opposite Scully. Yeah, that's right, Scully from the X-Files. Forgotten her name. Gillian, what's her name? It's not Gillian McKeith, the fake doctor who pokes at your poo. No, it's not her. It's the other one. Anyway, look, that's The Fall. Watch that. It's on Netflix. It's BBC. It's easy to find. Synchronic is really weird because it's like 100 minutes. It's essentially a time travel movie, but done in a way that I haven't seen done before. I really enjoyed it. Now, I've also read and heard reviews from other people where they've said they found it a little bit what's the word? A little disappointing, unfulfilling. I wouldn't go for that at all. And it's not going to change your life. Put it that way. I enjoyed it. It passed the time. Jesus, put that on the poster, right? At a push, I would say, if you're a fan of time travel movies, then it's a must, because obviously, you like time travel movies, so obviously you're going to watch it. But it certainly draws you in, and I haven't seen anything done like this. And the other thing about it is that you almost get the feeling, the way it's done, that, do you know what? I could actually, it's done as if it's real. Do you know what I mean? It's not in a documentary style. It's not shaky cam, but it's just done slightly differently, and makes it kind of appealing in a really kind of different way. Funnily enough, similarly to Savage, because that's the New Zealand take on it, and this is a different take, and I like different, because different means it hasn't been done before, which is taking, it's pushing the boundaries and all the rest of it. Anyway, next up, American Mary. American Mary is basically a sexy body horror, revenge, nasty piece of work that I ended up watching on Netflix, and I enjoyed it. Not going to change your life. Can't remember who's in it. Not even going to bloody look. But 90 minutes that will, would certainly hold your attention, or it might not. Who knows? Next up, Locked Down. Now, this was not what I was expecting. Locked Down, for a start, it's directed by Doug Liman, who came to fame with Swingers, so a bit of a legend. And it's written by Stephen Knight, and it stars Chiwetel Ejiofor, try saying that after a couple of shandies, and Anne Hathaway. You think straight off the bat, oh, really? Now, the weird thing about this is, also there's somebody I know who's got a very small role in it, but there you go. The weird thing about this is that it's called Locked Down, and the way it's done, I mean, about the first half hour is like a play, because it is just Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor, and I mean, they're both, again, this sounds horrendously lovely, but they're both immensely watchable laugh. But it is kind of weird, and I found my attention drifting a little bit, because it was just like, well, hang on, I'm in lockdown and I'm watching two people in lockdown. Yeah, right, okay, well observed, but not really sure that this is entertainment or just a big fucking mirror. So it does develop. There is without doubt a great chemistry between the two leads. And it's an interesting premise, but for me, it took a little bit too long to get going. I mean, it comes in at 2 minutes under 2 hours. For me, 90 minutes, and it would have been vastly improved, because you could have lost the half hour at the beginning, which is essentially, hey, look at how well observed this whole section is about lockdown, and it is, and parts of it will make you go, oh yeah, right, okay, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you'll watch it and you'll be like, oh no, yeah, I really enjoyed the first half hour, it was great, yeah, it wasn't until the caper started that I didn't enjoy it. But for me, it's without doubt half an hour too long. But again, just my opinion, and I still watched it. And would I watch it again? No, which is always a test of really how good is it. But, I didn't watch it and go, well, bloody hell, that's 2 hours of my life I won't get back. So, it's up to you. It's up to you. Next up is Outside the Wire. This is Anthony Mackie making another appearance. Outside the Wire is a Netflix original movie, and I really enjoyed this. Notice again, I am not saying this is a good movie, but everything I'm saying it's just my opinion. Okay, it's just my opinion. But I really enjoyed it. A fucking great action movie. Great action movie. B, set in the not too distant future, so just believable enough. And C, again, as Synchronic is an interesting take on time travel, Outside the Wire is an interesting take on, can't tell you, but trust me, it is an interesting take on what it is a take of that I'm not going to tell you it's a take of. Okay? I mean, Really enjoyed it. Like I said, lots of action, and it is mainly an action movie, but it's an action movie really with a big old brain. Exactly. So if that sounds interesting at all, yeah, I would go for that. I really would. I really enjoyed it. But again, that's just me. That's just me. It involves the army. It involves some themes and tropes that are well worn, that you'll have seen and heard before, but it's certainly worth watching, okay? What happens when machines are left to do human beings' thinking, or not, as the case may be. Next up, you might have heard of this one already, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And no, it wasn't a fucking, this is the 10th time I've watched it. I've never seen it before. It was there it was on Netflix, and I thought, do you know what? I really, really should, actually, because I've never, and I should. And, yeah, great, still great. I mean, obviously, it's dated. It's nearly as old as me. But, it is colour, you cheeky bastards. But what can I say? Just watch it. Yeah, it is iconic, and I mean, you hear that word a lot, but it is truly an iconic movie. And yeah, for reasons that are plain to see when you watch it. Okay, next up. Oh, now this was some fun. Next up is a movie called Spiral. Okay, now bear in mind, if you look up Spiral, it was on a streaming service, which isn't technically, it's hard to access. Let's put it that way, right? And so, and it was Spiral from the Book of Saw, and I thought, okay, well, let's have a look. So I looked it up on IMDb, and it's like, okay, who's in this? Sam Jackson, really? Sam Jackson, Ali Johnson, Morgan David Jones, Chris Rock. Okay, right. That sounds interesting. I like, and from the Book of Saw, but not a Saw. Yeah, this could be interesting. So anyway, about an hour in, and there's no fucking sign of Samuel L. Jackson or Chris Rock or Morgan David Jones or any of the other people who I recognised from the cast list. I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on here? Well, that's because the movie I was watching, it had actually been incorrectly tagged, and the movie I was watching is actually called just Spiral. That's it. And it's the next movie down after Spiral from the Book of Saw. Now, this, again, a 1 hour, 27 minute horror movie. I've got to say horror movie, but it's one of those people move into a neighbourhood and straight off the bat, shifty looks. Some people are really, really friendly. Some people obviously aren't. And then you wonder if the people who are really, really friendly are really, really friendly, or are they pretending to be really, really friendly and in fact they're really, really not friendly, and all that kind of shit, okay? And so it's that movie, okay? It's that moving into a place and not fitting in movie. And the titular couple, I hate it when people refer... Oh, the titular character. It's just say the lead character, fucko. Yeah? Oh, say protagonist. Fuck off with your titular. He says, having used the word, the main couple that the whole thing revolves around are as referred to, same-sex couple. It's a couple of gay guys who move in, and so straight off the bat, yes, it's done as that kind of horror film, but of course there's also the undertone of intolerance and intolerance of sexuality, and that whole undertone that's kind of reflecting on society now, etc., etc. So worthy goals. For me, I saw it coming a little bit at every stage. I kind of thought, is that going to happen? Yes, it is. Yes, that's going to happen. Oh, right, okay, yeah. But again, if you're in the mood for that kind of thing, you won't be disappointed. Next up, The Perfect Host. That was on Amazon Prime, and that was enjoyable. It's, again, something a little bit different, quirky, keeps you off balance all the time because you're not quite sure where it's going or what's going to happen. Took lots of little turns. Basically, if Spiral was that movie where you move in somewhere and you're not, there's an undertone of not being liked straight off the bat. This is the movie where it's called The Perfect Host, and guess what? Yeah, the host is the opposite of being perfect, and you wouldn't want to be this guy's fucking guest. But there are many a twist and turn along the way, and it will, it'll keep you moving and grooving for 90 minutes. Worth checking out, in my opinion. Next up, Shock and Awe. Shock and Awe, well, the title, I don't know if any of you remember when the Iraq bombings started, and George W. Bush referred to the American bombing of Iraq as shock and awe. Well, this movie is called Shock and Awe for that reason. Great cast list, Woody Harrelson, Rob Reiner, James Marsden. It's directed by Rob Reiner as well, so you're in safe hands there. Tommy Lee Jones is in it. Jessica Biel is in it. Mila Jovovich, there we are. Mila Jovovich is in it. Richard Schiff is in it. I mean, do I need to continue to read these great names out? No, I don't. It's a true story of the only media outlet in the whole of the USA that consistently said, virtually just after the planes hit the Twin Towers, this has got nothing to do with Iraq. This has got absolutely nothing to do with Iraq. And they just stuck to that. And they just kept running the stories, kept running, whilst all the other media outlets started coming to heel and playing ball with the administration of the time. These guys didn't, and for that reason alone, it is worth watching to see. Yeah, I mean, you see the real life guys towards the end, to see the work that they did. To see what they were up against and what they achieved, and how basically the whole of American media turned round to them a few years after the events and kind of went, "Yeah, you guys were right all along, weren't you? And we were all wrong." And from that point of view, it's real events. Truth is stranger than fiction, folks, isn't it? Sometimes, you know what I mean? Hey, this is a great phrase, that. Have you heard that before? No? Oh, well, there you go. It's 1.5 hours, and it's 1.5 hours from a historical point of view. It's worth knowing what these people did, who they are, and how they stuck to their guns, because it's people like that keep governments honest, let's face it. And in these particular times we live in, yeah. So there you go. I'm got all serious on yo ass, but anyway, next up is something that is fucking serious. Yeah, this movie is called Run, Hide, Fight. Now, it would be churlish to do a 3-word review of the film, and that would be run, hide, fight. That's exactly what happens in the movie. I don't want to give too much away. I will say the premise is that there is a school shooting. Now, the makers of this film have come in for some incredible flack, obviously mainly from North America, because they invented to and still lead the world in school shootings, because they don't happen anywhere else. I'm sure that's got nothing to do with the availability of guns. No, I'm sure there's not a link at all between kids being able to get hold of guns and shooting up schools, and kids in all other countries not being able to get hold of guns and not shooting up schools. I'm sure there's no connection there whatsoever. But run, hide, fight, yeah, I can understand that that's particularly sensitive in the US, and a lot of people have said, look, that's not a suitable topic for a movie. That's like saying that a topic is not suitable for comedy, which is like saying that somebody, it's bullshit, basically. I mean, I wouldn't, enjoy is the wrong word, but boy, I really found Run, Hide, Fight gripping, and it is disturbing at times. It's a hard watch at times. So, you know, if you've got anybody you're thinking of watching this with a slightly how can I say, a slightly delicate disposition, this is not the movie to watch with them. Next up, straight after Run, Hide, Fight, we have The Little Things. Now, The Little Things, yeah. Well, let's start with who's in it, shall we? 3 names straight out the back, straight off the bat. Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, Jared Leto. Well, there is 3 Oscar-winning male actors right off the top, okay? So you think, okay. And there's no doubt that there is some good performances in this. And then there's Rami Malek's performance in it. I don't know. Can I just say that, as opposed to being good or bad or whatever, I could never quite get to grips with the choices Rami Malek had made for his character. Okay, basically his voice annoyed the shit out of me. But even so, you know, I'm not going to say, and that, you know, that played a part in my opinion of the movie as a whole. It definitely prevented the movie working for me as well as it could have done. And did it work for me? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, it's 2 hours. It's serial killer based. If you like cops hunting down serial killers, 7, this is not, and it fucking really wishes it was, but it doesn't. Well, not many movies reach those heights, but yeah. If you're into and it's not a, you know, it's not a typical sort of police procedural. Let's track down this serial killer. There's you know, it's original enough and goes off in some different directions to keep me involved and keep me engaged. But ultimately, I guess I watched it and kind of went, okay, well, you know, I've watched that now, and Denzel is watchable and great as always, and Rami Malek was just like, yeah, I don't know what you were doing there, mate. I mean, you know, I loved you as Freddie Mercury, but this, not so much. Anyway, that was The Little Things. Straight up after that is Rams. That's right, Rams, starring one of my favourite actors, Sam O'Neill. What a lovely guy. I really like Sam O'Neill. And this is an Australian remake of a Norwegian movie. And it's engaging. It's about 2 brothers who live next door to each other but haven't spoken for 40 years. They have neighbouring farms, and a disease hits the area, and maybe they'll actually have to speak to each other. Also, there's a suitably nuts performance from Miranda Richardson, who for some reason reminds me of Queenie from Blackadder in this. I mean, she's not, and it's not, but I guess maybe she always reminds me of Queenie from Blackadder. I mean, I'm not going to start saying, well, I've seen the Norwegian, and I have to say it's a vastly superior film, and yeah, you should watch it. No, I haven't seen it. I've seen this one, and it was yeah, it passed the time. There's a couple of good laughs in it, and yeah, great. But ultimately, yeah, it was on. There you go. Next up. Yeah, now this is really weird, right? Because this movie, the next movie is called The Vanished, right? The Vanished. But for some reason, in IMDb, it pops up as Hour of Lead. And yet it has the poster, and the poster says The Vanished. In it, you've got Anne Hesh, Jason Patrick, and most importantly, Thomas Jane. Thomas Jane, now why do I say most importantly? Because Thomas Jane was in one of the greatest movies you'll ever see, The Mist. The Mist. You remember what I said about watching a movie with somebody who's got a bit of a slightly delicate sensibilities? Fucking hell. Make sure they never see The Mist, and don't be around if they decide to watch it. So yeah, there you go. This has turned into a review of The Mist. The Vanished. The Mist as in M-I-S-T, not M-I-S-S-E-D. That'd be crazy. So yes, The Vanished is about, well, straight up, I'm not giving anything away because it happens quite quickly. Thomas Jane and Anne Hesh are a young couple and their daughter goes missing, and they, very early on, the police get involved, and do we find her? Do we not? The net of suspicion is cast far and wide. There's other things that happen. The couple themselves have their suspicions about who might be responsible, and lots of twists and turns, and it keeps you guessing. I would say definitely worth your time. Definitely worth your time. Comes in at just under 2 hours. It's called an action mystery thriller in IMDb. I would say that's a pretty good description. And it is one of those movies where you think, oh, I know what's going on here. Yeah, I know. Oh, I don't know what's going on here. If you like it, if you like being kept on your toes and just kind of like, pushed from side to side and just being, and that the whole was it them? Oh, but I thought so. Oh, and you find yourself, oh, well, I did think that when they said that, it's one of them. If you know what I mean, Jesus, you can tell why. I do this on my own podcast because no one else is going to employ me to do this, are they? Really? Hey. Okay. After that, there's a few now that a fair few of you will have heard of. Firstly, it's taken ages to come out on streaming, on DVD, Blu-ray, etc. Saint Maud. Saint Maud is is it a horror film? I mean, I wouldn't really call it a horror film. Or is it? Maybe. It is definitely not your normal kind of. Oh God, how can I describe it? Okay, there's a girl called Maud. She might be a saint, or she fucking really might not be, or she might be, or she might not be. And by the end of the movie, you are left with some of the questions unanswered that you've had all the way through it, but that doesn't mean that you're unsatisfied. It's that kind of thing where I've got to be honest, I watched it, and as the credits roll, straight away I was thinking, yeah, needs another watch, definitely. And now I'm trying to review it, I'm thinking I should have had that other watch before I did this. But I think any movie where, as the credits roll, you think, well, I'm going to watch that again, well, there you go. That's as close to a recommendation as I'm going to get. But it's not for everyone. Nothing is. If you don't like it, don't blame me. Fucking not my fault. I didn't fucking make it, did I? I didn't make you watch it, did I? There's 36 movies here, hey? And of the 35 you might have enjoyed, you picked that one and didn't enjoy it, and you're going to have a moan, are you? Pfft. Dear me. Honestly, seriously, I'm just taking a piss. I really don't mind about anybody moaning. It's a laugh. It's great. Anyway, next up, the Netflix original. I mean, come on. It's called News of the World. It's on Netflix. It stars Tom Hanks. I mean, and if you don't like Tom Hanks, fucking hell, please just fuck off. Yeah, just get out of here. All right, just get out. What are you even doing listening to this shitty movie podcast or any movie podcast if you don't like Tom Hanks? Okay, you need to seriously have a good long look in the mirror, yeah, and wonder why you don't wish you were Tom Hanks. Yeah, I mean, come on, the voice of Woody. Anyway, News of the World is it's a Western. It's just over 2 hours, and it achieved the rarest of rare things. When it finished, again, I've gone straight to the end of the movie like I just did with Saint Maud. Weird. When it finished, as the credits rolled, I realised that that my cheeks were aching because I was smiling so hard. Yeah, I was like that's a weird one, isn't it? Smiling hard. Jamie Jaster probably smiles hard. But yeah, that sounded like a fucking pirate, didn't it? Jamie Jaster is not a pirate, just in case you were wondering. Arr, my name is Jamie Jaster. Arr, I'm captain of the hate breed, so I am. Arr, let us on your flotilla, or we'll set light to yous. Ha ha. Yeah. News of the World is just 2 hours of the most hanksy and beautiful hanksness that you're going to watch. Honestly, he is trying to get an Indian girl, as in Red Indian, Native American girl is what I should be saying, a Native American girl back to her tribe, and it's after the Civil War, and he's no one's there to do it, so he said he will do it. It's called News of the World because his job is he stops over in towns and he reads from newspapers, and that's how they get their news. He's basically like a travelling one man newscast. And he decides, he decides to step in and take this girl home, and that's all it is. That is all it is. A prime example of you don't need an amazing story, you don't need an amazing premise, you just need characters that you fucking care about and you care what happens, and all of a sudden things work. And News of the World fucking worked wonders for me. Next up, New Mutants, New Mutants, the latest installment in the X-Men series. I really enjoyed the X-Men movies. I went to the very first one at the cinema. I wasn't waiting for it. I'm not a comic book guy, certainly not the one out of The Simpsons, but I never have been. But really enjoyed X-Men. I didn't get to the end of this, I'm going to be honest. So there you go. That's my review. Next up, Red Lights. Now, when you discover a movie that stars Sigourney Weaver, Robert De Niro, and Cillian Murphy, because it is Cillian, not Killian, so says the man himself. But, he of Peaky Blinders fame, and the Batman trilogy fame, when you see that, also, hang on, no, let's Cillian Murphy, Sigourney Weaver, Robert De Niro, Toby Jones, Jolie Richardson, Elizabeth Olsen. Yeah, you're getting the picture of, okay, I think I might watch this actually. But when there's that long a cast list, and I find the movie's from 2012, and I knew nothing about it, and I've never seen it, straight away I'm like, I'm suspicious. Right off the bat, I'm suspicious. Because surely that must be crap. Otherwise I would have seen it. But the premise is that psychologist Margaret Matheson and her assistant study paranormal activity, which leads them to investigate a world-renowned psychic who has resurfaced years after his toughest critic mysteriously passed away. So the investigator is Sigourney Weaver, her assistant is Cillian Murphy, and the mysterious psychic is Robert De Niro. Again, it is one of those, is he psychic, isn't he psychic? Or did he kill his fiercest critic, or was that just coincidence? And there's a lot going on under the surface, and there's some twists and turns, and it's I mean, I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that, there's any twists in it that made me go, oh my good Lord. But just that cast list alone, you're going to go, yeah. And I also think that cast list is probably a reason why it tends not to get rave reviews or brilliant scores anymore, because you hear that cast list and you think that's going to be amazing, and it isn't. But it's good. It's maybe even for some of you very good. So yeah, give it a go if you want, or not. I'm cool either way. I'm not cool. I'm just cool with your decision. Next up, Dark Places. Now, Dark Places it's a Netflix watch actually. Yeah, a Netflix watch. I enjoyed it. It is pretty heavy. And so, especially with the current situation, you might want something a little bit more light-hearted. But I enjoyed it. Charlize Theron, Nicholas Hoult, Christina Hendricks. So yeah, some really good actors. It's very gritty. It's basically, how can I describe? Oh, well, I'm going to go with it. Libby Day was only 8 years old when her family was brutally murdered in their rural Kansas farmhouse. And it's 30 years later, and things start getting dug up, and her brother's been in jail for 30 years for the murder. Did he do it? Did she do it? And so it's that. It's about coming across and so straight away, Charlize Theron, who's the lead, is a fairly kind of broken character. One of those people that instantly you can see that the last 30 years have not gone well, as you can imagine, with your mum, dad, and siblings being murdered by one of your other siblings. You're not exactly going to go on and be a huge success. Being witness to horrible crimes like that, unless of course your name is Dave Navarro. And if you want to know more about that story, my suggestion is that you Google Dave Navarro and look into that poor man's horrific childhood. But anyway, it's absorbing. I really found it absorbing. It's a tough watch. It is just some really good performances in it. It's not entertaining. It's engaging. It's absorbing, and it's a real emotional drain. It's the kind of movie that at the end of it you're like, oh, wow. Not like I'm glad that's over, but more sort of like, wow, yeah, that one hit home. If you know what I mean. Anyway. Next up, The Family Fang. The Family Fang, as in Fang. Again, this is a comedy from about 5 years ago, and again, one of those things where you just think, really, how come I haven't seen this? I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than some people I know did, because I've recommended it to them and they've gone like, nah, not really. But it's another Jason Bateman movie. It's directed by Jason Bateman, and he stars in it along with Nicole Kidman and also his parents, and him and Nicole Kidman are brother and sister, and their parents are played by Christopher Walken, what's her name? Oh, good Lord. And fucking hell, I can't find here. That is really, really weird. I've just actually gone to look at Marion Plunkett. I do apologise, because it's like you've got Marion Plunkett. Anyone? Thought not. But she's playing opposite Nicole Kidman, Jason Bateman, and Christopher Walken. Some good performances. They are kids who their parents are basically, they call themselves street artists, and what they would do is they basically play pranks. It's like they play real life pranks and they'd film it. This is pre-mobile phone and all that, obviously, we're going back years, and they would film it, and it's not a true story, and to film people's reactions, and that is basically, they built up notoriety and fame for doing this, and it's about the family trying to come back together, but failing for a fairly unique reason. And then it becomes a different movie. Then it becomes we need to find out what the fuck's going on movie. There are laughs, there are good performances. Ultimately, I found it slightly unsatisfying. It's one of those where people, it's like any film, isn't it? People get more, some will get more out of it than others. There's some great lines in there, all really engaging actors, and some pretty enjoyable stuff going on. So, yeah, Personally, I wouldn't watch it again, but I'm glad I did watch it in the first place. So there you go. Can't say fairer than that, can I? I can't say fairer than that. Next up, The Hunter's Prayer. The Hunter's Prayer, well, do you know why it really worked for me? Stars Sam Worthington, and it's a pretty hack premise. An assassin helps a young woman avenge the death of her family. That's it. But the reason why it really worked for me is that part of it is filmed in Harrogate in Yorkshire, where I'm from, and it's a Hollywood movie, and to suddenly see Harrogate, England appear on the screen was just absolutely threw me. And there's a shootout in Harewood House. I mean, fucking hell, what more do you want? So there you go. What can I say? I enjoyed it, but the reasons I enjoyed it are completely unique. So it might have been shit. But I enjoyed it. Again, not going to watch it again, but let's face it. The only kind of movie you're going to watch again is something that absolutely fucking blows you away. And you're not going to get that many movies that absolutely fucking blow you away. So that's my theory. Next up, The Empty Man. The Empty Man. Not Empty Man, The Empty Man. Creepy. Very, very creepy. And I would say, basically, it's the trail of, The Empty Man, okay? Basically, The Empty Man appears if you walk across a bridge and you blow into an empty bottle 3 times, you know, and then in the next 3 days, on the first day afterwards, you'll hear the empty man. The second day after, you'll see the empty man, and the third day after, the empty man comes and gets you. Or you can say Candyman 5 times, and he just fucking turns up straight away. Do you know what I mean? No fucking about with that guy. The empty man. Dude, 3 days? What the fuck do you call this? You certainly don't work for Deliveroo. Oh, fuck it. I've made myself laugh. Thank you. It's one of those. And it's really well done. If you're in the mood for some jump scares, for, you know, a bit of horror, it's going to do the business for you. It really is. It's perfectly non-offensive, perfectly, it's well paced, it's well timed, it's workmanlike, it's a little long, but to be honest, it doesn't drag. So anything of that kind of, but again, 2 hours and 15 minutes, I just think if any horror film, that is too fucking long. Horror films should be 90 minutes, 100 minutes, push it a little bit more maybe, but no horror film should be 2 hours. Over 2 hours? No. But then again, it is described as a crime drama horror. I think that's, you know, a little bit of bullshit. But you know, look, I enjoyed it. You might give it a whirl if you're in the mood. Next up, Monster Hunter. And here is my 3-word review of Monster Hunter. Dumb as fuck. Dumb as fuck. That is my review. Next question. Did I like it? Fucking yeah. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's all in the title. It is literally all in the title. It's Mila Jovovich again. Tony Jaa is in it as well, and he's fucking awesome. He's been around for years. Amazing exponent of martial arts, and it's really good. Now it is based on. Sorry, I did say it's really good. It's based on the computer game. Basically, a bunch of soldiers are on a exercise. Oh fucking hell! What's this big hole that's opened up that they drive through, and all of a sudden they're in a different world and there's monsters. And I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. The monsters are fucking great. It's big, it's loud, it's shouty, there's fire, there's people going, fucking get it, run, get down, what the fuck is that? Oh, what the hell was that? What part of the country are we in? There is no way, man. Was that a dinosaur? What the hell is going on here? I mean, it is all cliched as fuck? And maybe it was just the mood I was in, but I really enjoyed it. Big, dumb fun. I mean, you know, it just was. That's all. That's all I have to say. Next up, Mojave. Mojave, as in the desert. From 2015. Oscar Isaac is the biggest name in this, and he's great in it. And a suicidal artist goes into the desert where he finds his doppelganger, a homicidal drifter. I would never have known that he was a doppelganger, to be honest, because he looks nothing like him. So that's total misuse of the word doppelganger. But basically, it's true. It's like this guy who's kind of, you know, he's a bit of an actor, and he's going out into the desert to find himself, and instead he gets found by somebody who may or may not be a serial killer who's being hunted for the police because there's a lot of bodies keep turning up in the desert, murdered. And the initial scene they have together around a campfire is one of those scenes where you're like, right, what is going on here? There's just, you know, when you watch a scene and you think, okay, I'm well aware that these two characters just sat here having a chat, but there is something else at work and I can't put my finger on it. There's something else is being communicated through this scene that I'm not getting, but it's drawing me in and it's intriguing me. And it did. It intrigued me. It drew me in. It held my attention. It's an hour and a half. Some great performances, and it's kind of quirky. You know, it's off the beaten track. It's not the kind of thing you're going to see every day. Which, you know, whenever I say that, I'm kind of hoping you watch it. Because the more attention things get that are not the everyday kind of thing, it means we'll get more of stuff that is not the everyday kind of thing instead of just more of the fucking same. And, you know, that has got to be a good thing. So Mojave, I may even get around to watching that again. But let me just put a caveat there. It's not fucking amazing. It's not brilliant, but, you know, I personally found it really worth a watch. Next up, Son of a Gun. Son of a Gun is an Aussie movie, but it stars Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor. It stars Ewan McGregor, who is great as always. But we've also got Alicia Vikander is in there. So, you know, it's of a certain quality, shall we say. It's directed, well, who it's directed by, Alicia Vikander. Long live Vikander! Oh no, that's Wakanda, isn't it? The premise is that Ewan McGregor is basically a hard-bitten criminal who is a bit of a ledge, and he's in an Australian prison. He's doing like 25 to life, and the main character that we see early on gets locked up in the same prison as him, and when he goes to leave, basically Ewan McGregor looks after him while he's in there and says, but when you get out, you need to come back and bust me out. Now, it reminded me a little bit, when it comes to prison movies, it reminded me a little bit of The Shawshank Redemption. The old phrase, you know, there's a hell of a lot of Shawshank before there's any redemption. And there's a hell of a lot of fucking horrendous prison brutality before our main character gets released. And that's not a spoiler, because you know he's only doing a short sentence right from the off. But it's like, fucking hell, it's pretty bloody grim. Question is he going to go back and bust out this legendary criminal and then go on the run with him? Fucking course he is. There wouldn't be a movie otherwise. And if you like the sound of that, then you probably want to watch Son of a Gun. Next up is now there is. I had BT Sport for a while. I'm got him up. I had it for a couple of months, and there were some great 30 by 30 documentaries about 30 by 30's ESPN sports documentaries, and I watched one called The Two Escobars. That's Andres Escobar, the Colombian footballer who was murdered when the Colombian football team returned home from USA 94 World Cup, and of course Paulo Escobar, and the parallels between the two. I didn't realise that Pablo Escobar died, or rather was killed by the police, just 2 weeks before USA 94. And I had no idea what was going on behind the scenes in Colombian football. Basically, the drug cartels ran the biggest football clubs in Colombia. And for those of you who know, Rene Higuita, the famous Colombian goalkeeper for doing the scorpion kick against England at Wembley that time, well, he was not the goalkeeper at the World Cup because he went and visited Pablo Escobar quite a lot. Apparently, it's quite amazing. I mean, the stories of Pablo Escobar, who loved football, paying footballers from all around the world, by the way, all around the world, paying footballers huge sums of money to come and play football with him and his mates or against a team that he put together. And he would literally have them flown into the company, private jets, you name it, flown in. They'd play the football. He'd pay them in fucking dollars, cash, and they get back on the planes and fuck off again. I mean, it's unbelievable. Ultimately, a very sad story, because obviously the two Escobars, of the title, both end up getting shot, but for very different reasons. So, if you can track that down, the two Escobars, really worth a watch. And whether you like football or not, it's kind of irrelevant, really. It's more of a documentary about that era in Colombia's history and the power that the drug cartels had than about football. Next up, Space Sweepers. This is on Netflix. It is a Netflix original. It's kind of weird because it's part Korean, part English. By the way, there's Korean actors in there. There's Western actors in there. There's Western actors speaking English, but then speaking Korean, and there's Korean actors speak English occasionally, and there's 1 minute subtitles, next minute there isn't. But it is set in the future, funnily enough, and we join the crew of a ship, and their job is sweeping space, hence the title Space Sweepers. See what they did there? And so sci-fi, straight off the bat, some amazing action, brilliantly done, interesting storylines. I'm going to throw a really weird one at you, but for me, the story had a tiny touch of, and I'm going to forget the fucking name of the movie. Just bear with me. Serenity. That was it. Serenity, which was the movie of the TV series that Joss Whedon's made, etc., etc. If you know what I mean. Anyway, look, that particular movie is pretty much an underground cult movie. So I don't know. Anyway, if you've seen it, yeah. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. How can I say? What can I say? There's the Space Sweepers come across a cargo that everybody in the world is after, and that cargo is a person. But is it? And they've got something inside them that could be a little dangerous for pretty much everybody. So, which, hilarity ensues in some cases. There's everything in this movie. There's heart, there's passion, there's pace, there's action, there's humour. I really enjoyed it, but I have to say, you need to be on your game, because the constant switching between English and then subtitles suddenly appearing again, and that can be a little discombobulating. But by the time, maybe I was just really fucking knackered. But I really enjoyed this movie. I really, really, really enjoyed Space Sweepers. And probably one of the main reasons I enjoyed it, I really didn't see it coming. I did no way expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I really, really didn't. Okay, getting towards the end of the movies now. Next one is I Care a Lot. Some of you may have seen this. Is on Amazon Prime. It's two main stars, Rosamund Pike and that lovely, lovely, lovely chap from Game of Thrones. Yes, it's him, isn't it? I'm fucking, honestly, my brain is just, I think it's packing up, because I just looked down and I realised I've been doing this for an hour now. So I should probably stop very, very soon. But yeah, look, fuck it. Bear with me. Oh, there we go. Peter Dinklage. Okay. I'm sorry, Peter, mate, if you're listening. What can I say? I'll buy you a beer next time I see you. So this movie has received a fair amount of plaudits, and I watched it straight off the bat. It'd only been out a couple of days. I went straight in, and now Rosamund Pike is. Some people are saying, "Oh, it's an Oscar nomination performance." For me, it's the Gone Girl performance again. I mean, if anything, the Gone Girl performance, I prefer that character. I prefer that performance. Now, I was really interested to see what Mark Kermode thought of this, because I not that I use Mark Kermode as my measuring stick for movies, because I've completely disagreed with him on many occasions. And one of his movies of the year one year was Barbarian Sound Studio, which when I watched ended up in my worst movies of the year. Nay, it's probably in my top 5 worst movies ever. And if you've seen Barbarian Sound Studio, you probably know what I'm talking about. Just horrendous. For me, it was awful. But anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. Let's get back to I Care a Lot. Now, straight off the bat, listening to his review, he was going, there's some great, and there's some really dark comic moments in this. There's some really funny bits. And I was like, hey? I didn't laugh once. I've been doing comedy for 26 years, and I didn't laugh once. I didn't see a gag in it once. And for those of you who listen to the Kermode and Mayo podcast, Simon Mayo's more of my opinion, and Kermode, who often says he's got a tin ear for comedy, and I think in this case he has, but it's just the opposite way round. He's seeing comedy where there is none. And I just thought, no, I'm sorry, but that's just a pretentious film critic take on it, and that's a bit unfair, because the man is quite a few things, but rarely pretentious. And then I looked it up on IMDb, and it's called a comedy crime thriller. And I was thinking, what? And for me, the reason why there's no comedy in it is this. You need likability. No matter how hard a comedy is, no matter how horrendous a character may be, they need to have at their core a redeeming feature. There needs to be, a classic example, right, is your anti-heroes. Classic example is Tony Soprano in The Sopranos, okay? The man is a murdering, philandering, what is this, the 18th century? He's a murdering, misogynistic, evil, fucking mafia bastard. And you do not want him to get caught, ever. You are on his side. Within the first 20 minutes to half an hour of this movie, I wanted to chop Rosamund Pike's head off and, ironically, put it on a pike or a spike. Thoroughly unlikable, dislikable, hateable fucking character. No redeeming features whatsoever. Tearing people's lives apart who don't deserve it, purely for her own material gain. I'm really struggling to see the laughs there. Really fucking struggling. Yeah, basically, this whole film is about a bunch of thoroughly, totally corrupt, unlikable, dislikable, hateable characters not getting their just deserves. Every single, a mate of mine used to say, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, a mate of mine used to say, if we'd been to see a movie and somebody say, oh, what's it like? And he'd always say, oh, they all die in the end, which was hilarious, a big joke. And then we went to see Reservoir Dogs and people asked him the same question and he said the same answer and never gave away the ending. You see, sometimes it does work. But anyway, the whole point I'm talking about here is I just fucking wish they'd all died in the end. Really? And there you go. Fucking spoiler alert. They don't all die in the end. I fucking hated them all. I just hated the characters. In fact, one of the most likeable characters in this is a fucking lawyer. Right? A lawyer for a Russian fucking drug baron. He's a likeable character. And it's not the fact that he's likeable. It's the fact that the rest of them are all fucking horrible. And I'm so busy hating them. Of course I'm not going to laugh. I'm completely... That side of my emotions has been shut down by these hateful fucking characters. I mean, Rosamund Pike is just a hateful bitch. Peter Dinklage just plays the part of an absolutely despicable, hateful little fucking murdering twat. And funnily enough, those kind of feelings toward characters don't inspire me to chuckles. Honestly, I just do not get why the word comedy is in there at all. You're getting that do you know what? I watched the whole movie and I really, really struggled with the first half hour. I have elderly relatives who may or may not be in similar situations to the situations that some of the characters are in this are in. And within the first 20 minutes to half an hour, I was really, really struggling to keep watching it because it was making me so fucking angry. So maybe, and again, yes, movies about what you bring to them. So maybe because I was bringing that to it, it turned me off to the comedy. But do you know what? Not a fucking single gag in there. Sorry, didn't see it at all. But Peter Dinklage it's clearly a caricature. Fuck off. Hateful, hateful, hateful shit. And unfortunately, not enough hateful shit happens to the hateful shits in this hateful, shitty fucking movie. But you might like it. And if you do, you're a cunt. Obviously, not really. Now, this next movie is the opposite, but it shouldn't be. This movie is called The Mauritanian, and it's Jodie Foster's in it. It's her latest work. It's the true story of a man who's a Mauritanian. He was picked up by the US and he was put into Guantanamo Bay because he had links to some of the hijackers on the 9/11 plane. And suffice to say, at the end of this movie, I was in tears. It is unbelievable. To a certain extent, this is a horror film. And believe you me, and now don't start jumping to conclusions. When I say parts of this are a horror film, some of the things that are done to this man are horrific, are horror movie horrific. They are fucking Hostel horrific, except this is fucking real, okay? Because the movie is based on the book The Guantanamo Diaries, written by the man himself when he was in Guantanamo. It is, and when he was in it, did he get out or did he not? I will leave it up to you to watch. But Jesus fucking Christ, it is sobering to say the least. It's a tough watch, and like I said, it's not a horror film, but it is horrific, and parts of the film are more horrific than a horror film, and especially when you know that this is that this was carried out, this was done. So yeah, give it a go wherever you can find it. I don't think it's on mass general release yet. I got a password from somewhere and was able to watch it, and it's without doubt something I will watch again. Just quite simply, as I was, funnily enough, as I was saying earlier, truth is stranger than fiction, and this one is truth is more horrific than fiction. Without doubt, worth a watch. Without doubt, for me, it was worth a watch, but it's not for everybody. It really isn't. It is a hard watch. Anyway, next movie, Crisis. Crisis is about a fictitious drug that is being pushed onto the market. It's going to be a painkiller that has no addictive properties. So there's a real big push to get it onto the market as soon as possible. So people are going to try and get cover up any potential side effects, and it's got a great cast, and I really enjoyed it. It is gripping. At no point do you think that this drug doesn't exist. It could have been ripped from the headlines. It stars Gary Oldman and Armie Hammer. Both their characters are great. So Oldman is a professor who's being pressured to not find any side effects. Hammer works for the DEA and is working on trying to prevent drug smuggling, and the stories overlap, etc., etc. Evangeline Lilly is in it. She plays the mother of a son who is killed, and it's three stories all kind of interlinking, but not in a fucking corny Quentin Tarantino kind of way. I really enjoyed it. I found it gripping. It is done as if you could actually think that this was for real. And Greg Kinnear's in it as well, and which I really enjoyed. Greg Kinnear should be in loads more stuff. He really should. He's great. But there's like Lily Rose Depp, Luke Evans. There's all sorts of there's some. It's really I really enjoyed it actually. In fact, I enjoyed it more. I'm realising as I'm talking to you now that I enjoyed it more than I realised. So sorry for that. That is called Crisis, and find that where you can. And the final movie, thank God, because I'm knackered. The final movie is The Block Island Sound. Now, I watched this last night. It is, I think it's Amazon Prime, or is it Netflix? No, I think it's Netflix actually. And The Block Island Sound, basically, it's about a guy lives with his dad, and they live on Block Island, and there's a sound. I shit you not. Straight away, in the opening 5 minutes, if this movie doesn't grip you, then I would be shocked, because just the way it starts is kind of like, oh right, I'm in. I'm fucking in. Something is killing the wildlife in the area, and they are fishermen. And the very first scene is a guy lying on the floor of his boat, and he's red-eyed, and he seems a bit out of it, and there's dead fish in his boat, but not in a net. They're just in his boat, and basically it's just fucking weird from the minute, right from the off, but incredibly engaging and absorbing, and just really, really, really enjoyed it. I will be watching this again. I had a big smile on my face because I liked the ending. I'm not saying it's a great ending. I'm saying I liked the ending. And for me, that is always really important about a movie, same as it is about a song. You got the ending. It's got to be good. It's got to be fucking good. Yeah. It's like a comedy set. You open strong, you end strong. You've got to do that. And I really, really enjoyed it. It's a mystery. It's a mysterious. Is it a horror? Not really. It's a thriller. Yes. It's all of these things. And if you have a spare 90 minutes, you might want to take it in or not. But I really enjoyed it. And again, I'm being a bit woolly about it because I don't want to say too much. But yeah, there's the premise. Something is killing the wildlife. Let's fucking find out what. And, you know, you're on board. Literally, first scene is in a boat, but you're on board from the minute go. Right, TV series. On Amazon Prime, Startup. There are 3 series of Startup. It's kind of like Ozark on Netflix, but not. It's some guys. One guy's a businessman. One girl's just really good. She's an incredible coder. And one guy is head of a Haitian gang. And the 3 of them end up putting a company together in cryptocurrency. But there's all sorts of shady dealings. Martin Freeman is in it as well, playing a properly fucked up, twisted FBI agent. I enjoyed it. Season 3 is probably not as strong as the first 2, but even so, enjoyed it, stuck with it. And yeah, check an episode out. And if you like it, keep watching. Ratcheted, which is on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, and it stars Sarah Paulson. Remember when I mentioned her all the way back at the beginning, years ago? It stars her as Nurse Ratched. This is the story of Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This is a prequel to, but not to the movie. This goes way back, way back, and is basically meant to depict how she ended up as the Nurse Ratched that you see in that movie. To be honest, you don't need to have seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest to watch Ratcheted and enjoy it. I found it thoroughly enjoyable. It's mad. It's office tits. The look of the programme is incredible. I mean, you can literally press pause at any time in any episode and you could frame that scene. You could print it off and frame it and hang it on your wall. There's some incredible style choices in it. Sharon Stone is in it. She has a pet monkey. She lives in a house that, I mean, I'd love to know where it is because it's incredible. The locations are amazing. The costume is incredible. Now, I know I'm talking about, like, this is all just eye candy at the moment, but the programme itself, the acting, the storyline, the characters, totally engaging, smashed through the whole thing, really enjoyed it. And again, unlike movies, you know, just watch an episode, and if it doesn't grab you, fine, you haven't lost anything. But I've really enjoyed these. Now, next one, again, this is on Amazon Prime, Animal Kingdom. Now, I'm watching this at the moment. I'm about halfway through the 3rd season. I don't know if it's the final season. Really enjoying this. Starring Ellen Barkin. Remember her? Ellen Barkin, remember her? Hey, I mean, she was in everything back in the sort of 80s, early 90s. I haven't seen her in anything. In this, she is the most hateful fucking matriarch I've seen in any TV series or even maybe movie. She is a bitch. She is, oh God, she straight away I was like, there's something, I don't know, there's something not right about this woman. And it's like, and the more you watch it, the more you're just like, oh, stop it, oh, fuck up. But she's holding together her ragtag bunch of kids. She's got 3 sons and a grandson, and it's a little bit in that way like Peaky Blinders, the fact that you've got sons, and of course there's also one of the actors is from Peaky Blinders, funnily enough. So while I'm continuing to do this, I'm going to look it up because I know you'll be quite keen to know who it is. But anyway, it kind of nods to Peaky Blinders in that kind of way, as in it's based around the family, but it also kind of nods towards Sons of Anarchy in it's because this family is almost like a gang, Now, I know that's a bit Peaky Blindersy, but I don't know. They, instead of having motorbikes, they've got surfboards, and there's a very lazy thing been said about it as well. That's what it's like. Oh, but there you go, Finn Cole, who's Michael, right? Michael, in Peaky Blinders. So if you like the sound of that, then it's your kind of thing. I'm really enjoying it. I'm fucking addicted. All of the actors in it are brilliant. All of the characters are great. I'm really, 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 really enjoying it. As you can, that was a lot of reallys, wasn't it? But with good reason. Sean Hattersey, it plays a character called Pope, and he's awesome in it. But what I really enjoy about it as well is that as you're watching it, the characters develop, and characters that you like, and you think, oh yeah, they're cool, they're, and then you watch it a little bit long, and then you think, actually, I'm going off that character, but that character I didn't like, I'm kind of warming to them, and you find the characters coming in and out of your good graces, and I think that's brilliant writing and brilliant acting, because you can write that, but you've got to get it across on screen, and it's brilliantly done, and especially by Sean Hattersey, who he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. But he was in Southlands, which is a totally underrated US cop series, and he seems to be one of those guys who just seems to be destined to never be in anything that's like really fucking huge, but he should be, because he's just been awesome in everything I've seen. And in fact, I've just gone into his IMDb page. Known for Animal Kingdom, Southlands, Alpha Dog, and The Faculty. The Faculty's in 1998, for fuck's sake. Anyway, so yeah, I'm a bit of a fanboy for that dude. Next up, Jett, Jett. This is a TV series on Sky. I again smashed through this really quickly, loved it. It is, but I have to say, it is absolutely fucking brutal in parts. Brutal. As brutal as TV gets. And it's the lead character, Jett, and she is absolutely fucking awesome. Played by Carla Gugino, who's been in loads of stuff I love. It is brutal. She is like a female, more violent James Bond, but a criminal, without the gadgets. And I'm still not getting it. But it's basically what he says. World-class thief Daisy Jett Jakowski is just out of prison and already being forced back into what got her there by a group of eccentric and dangerous criminals. And it goes properly chicken oriental mental. It goes all over the place. And also there is a torture scene in it that is one of the grossest things that I have seen in a long fucking time. And I just thought, oh no, they're not. Oh, they're just going to threaten her with that. Oh, they're just going to threaten her with that. No, fuck me, they've used it. Fucking what? Oh no. Yeah, it's hard, and in my opinion, it's good. Jett, Jett, and the very, very final TV program I'm going to mention is The Looming Tower. 10 episodes. There's only one series. It's on Amazon Prime. It tells the story of the lead up to 9/11, but from about 4 or 5 years earlier. It highlights mistakes were made, times where intelligence wasn't passed on, times from the FBI to the CIA and vice versa, to organisations butting heads instead of actually working together to stop terrorism. And it's there is some real there's some brilliant performances in it. Jeff Daniels is the lead character, probably the main lead character, and he's absolutely brilliant in this. He's absolutely brilliant. Needless to say, there'll only be one series because at the end 9/11 happens, but it's fascinating. Every episode is an hour long, and it's like and they're movie quality. You know what I mean when I said it. It really is really enjoyable. And yeah, if it's that kind of, I find it really fascinating. But again, I know it's not, some people's kind of thing because of what it's about and what happens. Oh, and by the way, just to mention, Jett, in quite a few episodes, you will find the cast expands, if you like, and you. Giancarlo Esposito turns up, or Esposito, who is awesome as well. But anyway, back to the Looming Tower. If that sounds appealing, then I think you may enjoy it. If it doesn't sound appealing, then you won't enjoy it. Yeah, there you go. Genius, eh? Anyway, do you know what? I can't believe that this has been a fucking hell. An hour and a half! That is way too long for anybody to be talking non-stop, and I got to go because I've got to do an interview in 15 minutes. I genuinely thought this was going to take an hour tops. But hey, I guess I am just full of shit, and when it comes to movies, I do like to prattle on. If you're still listening, if there's anyone still listening, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's informative, and I hope there's at least one thing in there that you watch, enjoy, and it some way leads to you finding something else. Probably won't be doing much more of these because not going to be locked down for much longer. But I thought, do you know what? I've been really struggling for stuff to watch and finding stuff to watch. Oh, I've completed Netflix, as the joke goes. Yeah, if in any way I can help you, get some more stuff to watch, then it's been worth doing. Okay, guys, catch you next time. Happy viewing. Thank you.